welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. And today's guest is proof that you can build a multi-million dollar business and still be present for bedtime stories and soccer games. Kym Insana is the founder of Always On Digital, a powerhouse digital marketing agency serving brands like the U.S. Air Force, Texas Rangers, and American Airlines. She's a wife, a mom of four boys, and a leader who built her business and around business around freedom, flexibility, and results. She's not just teaching others how to scale. She's showing women and small businesses how to do it without losing themselves in the process. Let's welcome to this. Let's welcome to Second My Mind podcast, the queen of scaling with soul, Kym Insana. Hello, hold on, let me get you on here. How you doing?
Good. I'm great. Thanks so much for the introduction, Will. I appreciate it. Thanks for
Uh,
having me.
the pleasure's all mine. I'm glad to have you on the show, fellow New Yorker. So I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so we're gonna just jump right into this. Excuse me. Hold on. Take us back to the long commute, the corporate world, and the moment you knew that that wasn't you no more.
One of the moments of clarity for me was my oldest. He's going to be 19 in a couple of weeks, but when I used to pick him up from daycare, they would write in a journal. They would do these like drawing the pictures and write in a journal. And my son's journal always said, "Oh, my mom works in the city to make money." And he used to say to me, "Oh, mom, you're the last one to come. I hear your heels and your car keys, and I know you're coming." And he would make all these little comments that weren't necessarily malicious in any way, but they were so hurtful to me as a parent, thinking like I am scrambling to get here on time, and I'm the last one, and my poor kid is sitting there and he could hear my keys jingling because it's no one else is there even at this point. Like, I'm the last parent for pickup. And everything is indicated that I have to work to make money, and I'm not here for him. And so I just started to, put in my mind, why would I even have kids if I really wasn't there for them? And work ended up being such a big part of my life and who I am. And that shouldn't be who I am. When someone asks me, who are you? It should be a mother first, or a parent, or I'm, Jake's mom or Dylan's mom. I should not be, oh, I work at this company or I sell advertising. That shouldn't be who I am as a person. And when that started to take over, I thought, this is probably not right. This doesn't feel right. I need to make a change.
What was the biggest mental shift you had to make to go from an employee to becoming your own boss and entrepreneur?
So I actually didn't go to business school, and I didn't know what I was doing when I made the jump. So I had thought I could just get a handful of clients, and I don't need as much as I had before because I'm running a smaller organization, and I can do this. And it took a little while to really understand some of the elements of starting a business mentally. And I always ran a sales team, and I was involved in revenue numbers and things like that. But what I didn't know was, the other logistics of the business. So there was an extreme mental shift that happened from, yes, I led a team and I understood revenue, but what I didn't understand were the logistics of insurance and the accounting aspects and the hiring and employee law. And so that was one of the critical things for me that I had to start changing mentally and understand this isn't just about me. This is something bigger. When you're an employee, you just worry about yourself getting your job done, obviously for the benefit of a team. But when you become, the owner, now you're looking out for other people, much like a parent would. And you got to protect all your children, or employees as if they were children.
So how did your family influence the way you structured Always On from day one?
So, my kids, I really focused on their schedules first. I found that when I was working in corporate, I would come home, get the kids dinner, help them with their homework or whatever. And then I'd go back to working when they went to sleep. And so I would work around their schedule anyway. I was just killing myself doing it for somebody else. And when I switched over to doing it for myself, I kind of kept a similar schedule, and we were clear and upfront to our clients from the beginning that this was going to be something where maybe you didn't have calls with us from 3 to 5 p.m., but we were accessible nights and weekends as well. And, funny enough, when you start to deal with people that are in similar situations, they're happy to do a call at 9 o'clock. They're saying, "You know what? That's a good time for me because I've got everything else done. I would rather talk to you at 9 PM at night and do a conference call than do it during the day when I'm trying to struggle to get home for daycare or whatever." So, it was a welcome change for some folks for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, you know you from experience being a mom that works, and
Mm,
so you have to rush to come get the kids and all that. So
yeah.
so for some people, that those hours are beneficial. It benefits them to maybe have a later call. So that gives you an advantage because some people might not want to do those late night calls or whatever it is.
Yeah, especially, many of us as the fall comes, kids start getting sick and there's sick days or, the summer's a disaster as it is with camps. And for some reason, camps don't go to the end of summer and there's an expectation to take a couple extra weeks off from work somewhere. Like society doesn't set us up for success at all as parents, honestly. But, we're struggling. We're trying to make it work.
So, what advice would you give to women who feel like they have to choose between career and kids?
I always say, try to create somewhat of what you're looking for. So it's not all or nothing. We may have ideals of what we want it to be and what we want it to look like, but maybe there's something in between, point A and point B that allows you to have some flexibility and an opportunity to kind of breathe a little bit better. And maybe that's a day home. After COVID, there was a lot of work from home. We started this before COVID, but after COVID, there were some exceptions. I know that there's people going back to return to office, but maybe you can maintain a hybrid environment. Maybe it's a timing thing or hours. My sister-in-law, when she had kids, she was struggling and she had said, "Oh, well, can I come in 4 days? Can I just work 4 days?" And they said, "Yeah, take 20% off your salary, which is the fifth day, and you can work 4 days." And so maybe it's not a perfect scenario, and there's give and take, but sometimes those little things make such a difference in your life that it's worth that trade off. Kind of what you're getting, and so try to be creative. I always suggest, it doesn't have to be everything, just little baby steps towards getting what you want. And it doesn't happen overnight, even when you go and start your own business, because I literally got pregnant 6 months after having started the business, and I had a baby physically, and then had to send an email immediately after because there was nobody else to cover for me. And so, obviously that's not the situation I wanted to be in, but it happened. So, it isn't perfect doing it yourself, but understanding, trying to find a balance as much as possible.
Absolutely. You've gotten a proven 5-step framework for product sales. What's the first piece most people skip?
I think people forget the foundation. Thinking about the janitor of a school or anything, like how does it start? What are the basics of something? And starting from the ground up. Sometimes people miss that step before anything else. No matter what the industry is, or if it's a product or whatever, kind of like, if you're selling a product, what is the why? What is the need that somebody would have versus just saying, I created an invention? People forget the beginning part of that, and who does it suit, and is that, what's the foundation of that first?
So many entrepreneurs get stuck on platforms. How do you help them pick the right one?
From an advertising standpoint, what I find is that a lot of times people want to be on the hot new platform. And we were actually I was just on a call earlier today going through this, and, company says, I want to reach moms or women 25 to 49, and with a focus on moms, but I want to be on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and, Snapchat. And they're rattling off, video, YouTube. There's a million things they're saying. But when you start to talk about people's budgets, you really have to break it down and then prioritize. So we usually start with, what do you have that you're available to spend? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And understanding that, obviously, the target audience. But if you're trying to sell a product, then maybe it's not, jumping into full branding. What's going to give you the quickest return on your ad spend right away? And generally that's search. Search is like closer to shooting fish in a barrel. People are raising their hand, they want something. And you also want to make sure that you're allocating enough budget that gives you a statistical relevance, for understanding if that works or not. Does it perform? Is it getting you customers or not? And usually we start with the money makers first, the easiest ones, the ones that perform the best, the ones that have enough data that they pass back to allow us to make decisions. And then we could always go with the shiny new toy, and add that in. But a lot of times those shiny new toys don't have the same sophistication to pass back information and really, get your product going. There's a lot of hurdles with that, with those types of things. So we like to stick with, start with the tried and true, focus on your audience, and then, what type of budget you have. But, target audiences are usually found in specific areas. So not everybody's going to be on Facebook, and not everyone's going to be on TikTok or Snapchat or, or even, just display advertising. You'll find different folks in different areas a lot of times.
Like when you mentioned that she's looking for older women, or
Yeah.
they wouldn't be on Snapchat. They would be on different platform. Yeah, it would depend on what platform they needed and they wanted. So yeah, everybody thinks that they have to be everywhere,
Yes.
but your client, your the people you want, they aren't everywhere. They're in specific spots, and that's where you would focus
Yeah, absolutely.
on. What's the number one mistake you see small business owners making with digital marketing?
I think sometimes people don't do enough themselves first. And sometimes you don't know enough initially, but there's a lot of things you can do free. Posting consistently, just on your organic channels as much as possible. So if you can start doing that on your own first, and now, I mean, honestly, we have ChatGPT, we have all these AI tools that can help you at least get ideas, right? You're not a creative person. Can you just give me some ideas for some posts or something like that, just to get the ball rolling and get you going as much as possible for free? I'm probably not a great salesperson to say, do free first before you hire somebody, but do free first before you hire somebody. And then from there on, shop around. Don't just go with the first partner. It's hard to see sometimes what you're going to get. And I think, like, a lot of times, people don't really recognize what they're paying. So they may say, well, what's the cost for this? And, a company will say, oh, it's 10%, but then they don't know all the hidden fees. And it's really important to break down the fees and get reporting back from whoever you work with, that you want full transparency on what everything costs. What does the media cost? What does the technology cost? What is the service cost? Anything like that. Are there taxes? Some platforms charge taxes. Like, just understanding your full cost to know exactly how much money is really going towards my advertising. And that's one of the biggest mistakes. People don't realize how little is actually going sometimes.
Can you break down when it's time to shift from organic traffic to basically paid, and how to know you're ready?
So when you have some decent budget, I would say it's time to make the shift. So if you can start to allocate, maybe 10% of your revenue and say, okay, where, or profit at least, or, something where you're saying, all right, like, what can we do here? And maybe that's five to $10,000 a month that you have in your pocket, and you can allocate. I would say that's a good place to start. Sometimes people want to start with $1,000, and that's good too. You're going to end up probably having to do a lot of that on your own, because hiring another company is going to eat away a lot of that budget. Because at $1,000, it usually costs money to run. So, once you're towards the $5,000, $10,000 range, you can usually engage another company that can do the heavy lifting for you. And then you're losing less percentage than you would with those smaller budgets. Once you're at that stage, I would say, pick one or two channels to work off of, but make sure that your back end is kind of working in tune with your front end. So if you're doing marketing on Facebook or you're using Google, make sure that you have a plan. If you're capturing email addresses, are you following up? What's your customer retention strategy in order to get those people to either be return customers or get them as customers. So once people come to your site and they're dropping their email address or whatever information you're collecting, make sure you develop a relationship with them, because that's the other part. It's not just getting them to your door. You have to build a relationship with them and customer service is king. So if you're not really building that relationship up, it's hard to get repeat customers if you struggle with your product or anything down the road, or shipping times. Everyone's competing with Amazon.
Yeah,
So it's really important.
absolutely. And for when you're talking about, a lot of people don't know what to do with email lists. They don't really know how to really properly use them. That's something that I've had to learn as a podcaster. Is, yeah, you have to generate and build an email list. So you have to have a page where you can collect these emails, and 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 you have to build a relationship. That's one of the biggest things, is building a community. Everybody thinks you have, like, as far as podcasting goes, everybody thinks that, oh, you need to have these outrageous numbers to be successful as a podcaster, when in or actuality you just need a loyal fan base that'll support you and help build you up. And so I love the fact that, yes, I'm not a very great, humongous podcast, but I'm in the top 5%,
Yeah.
and I've worked hard to get to where I'm at by building a community, by building a relationship, by with the emails I do collect, sending out weekly messages to people, and seeing how they're doing, and like, that's something that was very important for me, that it took me for me to learn, for me
Mhm.
to actually start implementing these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It's better to have a loyal fan base that's smaller than to have, fly by night fan base that's larger. So we're not this huge corporation. We like to stay within our means and be able to have a quality product. And I always think of, it's like a bakery. Like if they want to go mass production, does the quality change? So you want to be at a point where you can provide the same quality at scale, and the scale is really whatever makes you happy. It doesn't, there's no real race here. There's no trophies at the end. We all end up dying, and there's the winner is what your peace and your happiness is within yourself and your people around you.
You've built a team of powerhouse moms. What does that bring to your company that most agencies miss?
Loyalty. So we have folks that have been here since day one. We have people that say this is the best job they've ever had. And when we're in an industry with extreme turnover and layoffs and things like that, and I see those Instagrams where people are just ripping their organizations apart, mocking them for bringing in a ping pong table to think that it creates culture and all of that. Um, what we strive to do is just create a team that wants to be here and loves being here, because it shows in their work. We are providing them an opportunity to have peace in their lives. And then it's just a cycle. It's just, it's in and out of happy employees is great work. And then it's not rocket science, really. Just do the right thing by them, for the most part, is usually all it takes. And so I think that ability to create loyalty has really helped us, and it's helped us gain and keep clients, because we can tout our experience and how long people have been here in the industry that we're in. There's extreme turnover. People last a year, 14 months at a job. I could say we have people here 9 years, 8 years, 5 years. Like, those are strong numbers, for a for a company like ours.
Yeah, absolutely. Your mantra is about balance. How do you personally stay grounded while running a multi-million-dollar company?
Some days look good and some days don't. For sure. I mean, it's not all pretty. It's kind of like how we dress for these Zooms, right? It's all good on top, and then we're wearing sweatpants on the bottom. It's all how I make it look. It's just you have to. I think you have to laugh at yourself sometimes and just say, okay, like today is gonna just be this way, and I'm gonna get the important stuff done because it's heavier with the kids or school or whatever. And then other days, my kids know, like, hey, listen, we're gonna be homeless if I don't work, so you guys have to chill out, figure out how to do something on your own for a little bit, or understand, this is not a day that you're calling me because you forgot something or you need a ride or you want to ask a question about going to someone's house after school. Like, that's not happening today. So they kind of know. I mean, I have a kid home. I have a couple kids home today. I told them not to knock on the door. 10 seconds before we got on, I heard the door banging and I'm like, no. Like, so it's not perfect at all, but I think we all try to have our boundaries, and mine's a locked door. But we just they know. But our clients also are in similar boats. Once you have an honest relationship with people, they tend to share that, oh yeah, you know what, it's the same thing for me, or my kids are in the car, while we're on a conference call, or their kids are on a call. And so, I think that honesty and transparency definitely helps, with maintaining some sense of balance, but I don't think anyone's got it perfectly figured out.
Oh no, one of the funniest moments I've ever had on the show was I was recording an episode and live, and
Yeah.
my grandson was living with us at the time, and he was like 2 years old, and he crawls under my desk and he sees the lights under my desk,
Yeah.
and he hits the button and he cuts off all the power to everything on the screen, everything. The computer went up, everything. And I look down and he looks up with these big eyes, and I can't get upset.
No.
I just look at him and I laugh, and I'm like, "All right, but yeah, I have to lock my door."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he looks at me, "Hey, pop pop." I'm like, I can't do nothing. I gotta laugh and enjoy it. And it was great because the guest was a fellow podcaster. So
Yeah.
they know about technical difficulties, and they kept the show going. And when I got back, I told them, we laughed on the air, and it was just a great experience to be able to have that moment with my grandson. And he's looking up like, yeah, like, yeah, I pop up, I can't. And you can't get upset. You gotta just laugh at it.
Yeah, no, you do. And then it's a great story and memory that you have with him as he gets older,
Mhm.
to tell them, because they somehow become part of and ingrained in what you're doing. And, I find that with my kids too. Sometimes we'll be on a call and they hear what's going on. And at dinner, like 2 nights later, they're like, so what happened with that thing? Like, did you get that deal, or what happened with that person? Like, they're part of it and involved. Sometimes nosy Parkers with things, like, or how much money did you make off that sale? Like, how big was that deal? And I'm like, well, don't worry about that part. But, they're funny because they become part of it. And then I think that that's where all the respect comes in too. Where, it's, we're in a different society than, children should be seen and not heard. And I respect people's different parenting decisions, but ours, we share a lot. And so by sharing, I feel like they know better to step back when they shouldn't be involved, or whatnot. But they do. They love to give their they love to give their opinions. They're all going to take over the world. They know everything. So
Yeah. So we are live. So we have a first time someone turning in for the first time. Desiree of Sunshine. Hey, thank you for coming through. She goes, thank you, Kim, for your insight and honesty. You are incredible.
oh, thank you.
And
That's
then a locked door becomes our best friend sometimes. Absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely. All right.
Right.
So where do you see digital marketing heading in the next 2 to 3 years? Because you mentioned AI, right? Where do you see it?
So we're definitely going to have lots of AI for sure. It's all you hear. I feel like it's almost like the new drinking game. Like, every conversation you're part of, someone saying AI, their technology is AI, they use, AI. But I honestly think there's going to be a swing back towards human, because AI, is not perfect. Humans aren't perfect either, but You need a combination. You can't just trust technology
Yeah.
to make, anything, whether it be for marketing and creating your ad and what your voice is. It's going to make mistakes. People don't like ads that are photoshopped completely, that don't look real. And, people like real people and seeing themselves within. And right now we're in the whole American Eagle uproar, with Sydney Sweeney. Like, just you can see by the reactions, people don't always want perfect. They don't want things a certain way. They you have to be able to adjust. So I think the human element is really important. I think the ability to access and shop things quicker is important. So, however, that technology allows you to do that, like TikTok Shop and
Yeah.
Google Shopping has changed a lot recently. We've noticed it's changed some of the search, performance and algorithms just because the way they have the shopping on the top now and how that users are engaging with that. And as consumers, I think of how easy you want something to be and how frustrating when it's not easy. We want to be able to look at something on Instagram and say, I like those pants. I want to click on it and I want to buy it. And I want to be not bothered by anyone. I want short shipping time. And I want it here yesterday. And I want it to look exactly the way it does on that person, on me. So, we want this instant gratification. And I think technology has to keep up with it to provide us with the tools to be able to purchase that way versus going to a website and scrolling and looking for the color, looking for the size. You want to be able to do that in a one shot.
Uh, it's something that I've been actually researching lately and looking into, live shopping.
Yes,
Um,
live selling. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, TikTok does it very well. A lot of people do it on TikTok. They're doing very well with it. There's Whatnot is an app where people go and they do live selling and all. And it seems like that's the next wave. That's where someone who sells whatever, that's something they should look into and see.
absolutely. And you know what? It's so funny how everything is old is new again. And when I was first introduced to live selling, I'm like, oh, like QVC.
QVC, yeah.
That's what I think of.
Phone
QVC.
shopping network, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like they talk for 20 minutes about this product and show you all the different ways you can use it.
Mhm,
It's the same. And if that's, how we're consuming it, and they've done well, they're still around. They're
mhm.
home shopping network. I've bought things. They do a great deal on PS5 controllers around the holidays. Like there's always, they're still around. It's great. But yes, the live selling and the live shopping where you can just go and purchase something like that and really see it. And it's the same as kids with the unboxing videos, how
Yeah.
they would watch some random kid start opening his toys and really see the product and how it works and what do you get in the box. So yeah, there's definitely a market that I see exploding there. Now, the flip side of that is you have to have the ability to create that content
Mhm.
and keep it
Consistently.
fresh.
Yeah.
And that is a whole nother thing that's not AI.
Mhm.
So there comes the human again. You're going to need people to really show and demonstrate and maybe engage live and answer questions and things like that, where a chatbot may not be the appropriate thing for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that's very important if eventually if your brand becomes successful in doing the live shopping, eventually you might, if you wanna extend the hours, because if it's you just selling, you can
Yeah.
only work for a certain amount of hours. You can only do a certain amount of hours. But then if you get big enough where you start hiring people to work the channel for you and live sell for you, then that's another step. But yeah, there's so many opportunities growing. And I just released I just started a newsletter on LinkedIn, and this week's newsletter was on AI and how we need to use it for what it is, a tool. It's
Yep.
not the answer to everything. Like you said, it does make mistakes. But sometimes you're stuck and you don't have you don't have an idea or whatever. You can feed it and use some of it and help you. Like it's helped me take my podcast to another level, but it's not the only thing. There's parts of me in it, and so you use it as a tool that it's meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great. I've used it in some random ways. We were going on a vacation. I knew kind of what we wanted to do, and I typed in the itinerary I had, and I said, what else am I missing? And it gave some other options, and it gave some options for restaurants, and within certain budgets, like you can use it for a bunch of different things in our daily life. But sometimes it's, hey, I need some thought starters or I don't even know, my brain's not working today. Give me some ideas. And maybe you don't use those ideas, but it gives you,
Yeah.
it sparks something else. Exactly. It sparks another idea and you take it from there. Um, and even I always, my kids, one of them did get caught with using ChatGPT for a paper at school, middle school, right? Let's, test the waters a little bit. He had a draft that he wrote, and then the final he used AI for. There was a drastic difference. And, he didn't understand why it's not okay. He's like, I'm going to end up using it when I work. I get to use a calculator on my phone. Like, what's the big deal? And, I said, there's no foundation that you have right now for writing because you're still learning. And so you don't understand everything. So you don't even know when it's not exactly correct, when the tone is wrong, or when it's just missing the point. And I kind of explained like Amelia Bedelia. I don't know if you remember those books
Okay.
where, she's like sponge cake and it's an actual sponge. Like it may not always get it. And you have to know it so that you can differentiate whether or not it's getting it. And it's just like that with advertising. Like we can put in Chat GPT, oh, what should we do for this advertiser? And it may spit back TikTok because it's more popular, or pull up some numbers. But we know personally from our background and our history and our foundation what something it's best suited for, and is it going to work there or not. And if we just trust AI, our business could go down the tubes. We could make all the wrong decisions for us and maybe we didn't even know. And that's, in that use case, obviously a lot of the technology we use is powered by AI, but we struggle with, Google's doing AI keywords and it's just adding keywords, and some of them we don't want. Facebook has Advantage Plus Creative, which is AI creative and making ads that don't always work and the clients don't like for whatever reason, or they're not approving. So we can't let AI completely take over, because it's not going to always be better than what we're doing.
No, absolutely. Sometimes you need that human touch element. You need that realistic because yes, there's things it does, but like you said, people want that authentic content. So when you're able to provide it, and that's why I love doing the podcast, is because it's authentically me, and
Yeah.
being able to have these conversations. It's not AI up here having these conversations, so people really are learning from real people, and getting to learn myself personally, and just it was a point where I was like, I enjoy these conversations so much because, like I said, I'm learning so much from
Yeah.
these conversations that I was like, man, oh man, I feel kind of selfish because this is so much fun. Just being able to do this and learn so much. But then
Yeah.
the guest was like, well, a guest pointed out that no, you're sharing all this content. You have people on. You're providing a service. You're giving people some amazing content. You have great guests on. So yeah, I love this. I love being able to provide this platform, and I've had some great guests on.
Yeah, and you're giving back. You're sharing the knowledge that you're gaining at the same time.
Mm,
Everyone's learning and it is authentic. It's not driven by technology, it's driven by people.
absolutely, yeah. What do you wish more entrepreneurs understood about scaling with sustainability?
So I wish, and I encourage my kids with school and everything to do this, is that the accounting background is pretty important. I think sometimes we don't fully understand finances. I don't think we're taught it properly in school, to the point we know for, to be able to start a business. So I would say, I wish that was a bigger sticking point for a lot of people to understand and really know. So you're not getting misled or swindled or things like that. So understanding the finances of a business and the accounting, to go into it is critical. And other than that, being open to what comes next. It's not perfect. It's going to maybe not be the path that you thought you were on, and sometimes you need to pivot. I think a lot of companies understood that during COVID, where even for us, we were focusing mainly um, on online advertising, and then COVID hit and we started to go back into traditional advertising as well, and doing billboards and stuff like that to help supplement our sales. And that pivot, being able to do things quickly and really just say like, okay, and like kind of an example I always think about is like watch Shark Tank, and I see these folks and they're like, but it's my business, and they're not thinking bigger picture sometimes, and they don't want to give a percentage, but like, 100% of zero is zero.
Yeah.
But, could you get 10% of millions? Isn't that bigger? Isn't that better?
Yeah.
Um, if that's what you're trying to do, if you're passionate and you want to get this thing out there, find the smarter path. And so there's a flexibility that has to happen with that.
Oh, no, it's something uh, I learned. Jay-Z actually, he's one who said he doesn't fall in love with anything. He's everything he's built. He's willing to sell it. It's
Hmm.
not, he's willing to because you don't fall in love with it. You build it up, and then you're like, okay, it's time to move on, and you go to the next thing, and so yeah, we shouldn't. If there was to come off me something for this pod, yeah, I've built enough to equity, and then yeah, I'm like, okay, it's time for me to build something else now. You can't fall in love with. I love doing the podcast. Don't
Yeah,
get me wrong,
I know what you mean though.
but if I have, hey, if they came with the check, I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say no.
Yeah. How does it benefit you and those around you, the most? And making sure. I agree. It's a great philosophy, and he's pretty successful, right?
Yeah,
So he kind of knows
absolutely,
what he's doing at the end
definitely,
of the
definitely.
day.
So what's next for Always On? And are you expanding, branching into new services, or maybe writing a book or something?
Um, so I think if I ever wrote a book, I'd probably write a children's book. More because, or just maybe, I don't know, stories of where people put their socks in my house, something like that. Because it's, um, I feel like there's a lot out there, and sometimes we have imposter syndrome when we think, what could I say that someone hasn't said already? But what's next for us is we're trying to have this as a growth year. I think personally, I'm at a point in my personal life where my kids are getting into more of a stable path. My youngest is going into third grade now. So, and then I've got, a kid in college. So, like, we're cruising, I guess. They always need things, and there's baseball, but we're trying to grow a lot this year. So we're expanding our office space. We've been hiring more, products and services. The future really will tell us kind of what it is as new platforms evolve and pop up. We always try to be, in the mix of it and make sure that we can be experts on those platforms too, so that we could, really help others. Not have to build a whole team just for Facebook or just for TikTok. Like, we'll have expertise in all those areas, and you work with us and you kind of get everything in one place. And you don't have to hire individuals for everything when you may not need the headcount for it. So we'll continue to expand on that front. But we're always looking to work with new advertisers and continue to grow, and hope that we can continue to hire moms or parents or people that are looking for a work-life balance situation, that are dedicated to creating great customer service for our clients.
Absolutely. So Desiree has an answer to where the socks go.
Oh, the dryer eats socks. The dryer does eat socks. Like, I want to find, there should be a magic door somewhere that you open and the socks are in there. And now this trend of these kids wearing slides with white socks, like, why? Why does that have to happen? It's so hard to clean them when you're doing that. They're not shoes. White socks are
Mhm.
not shoes and shouldn't be treated as such.
No, absolutely not. So, final message to the person listening who's on the fence about starting something on their own, and at the same time, you're gonna get the solo screen, and you're gonna let them know where they can find you, everything. So there you
So
go.
If you're on the fence about starting something, I don't think there's ever a perfect time to do things. And I always say, just try it. You could always go and get a job, or do something else. You could always dip your toe into it and see how it goes. If it's something that maybe you could do as a hybrid or a part-time, I say go for it. It is a risk. It's not for everyone, but if you're passionate about making it work and putting the work in, absolutely do it. So I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn, Kym Insana, KymInsana. And our website is getalwayson.com. And you can reach out to us through the contact us form.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Kim, for being a guest. I greatly appreciate you stopping by and spending this time with us.
Thank you so much, Will. It was great.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. Pleasure's all mine. But don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show, and we'll chat a little bit off the air. But once again, thank you so much. This was wonderful having you on as a guest.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Another great episode is in the can. If you've been waiting for a sign to build a business that fits your life, this is it. Follow Kym Insana and check out Always on Digital to see how smart, flexible marketing can actually scale your business and your freedom. If this episode sparked an idea, share it with a fellow mom, entrepreneur, or creative who's been stuck, because balance and success aren't opposites; they're a blueprint. And as always, stay driven, stay grounded, and stay wise. Peace out.